prom season is upon us, and also the basketball finals are happening. So let's take a look at two recent Disney Plus movies about high schoolers, Prom Pact and Chang Can Dunk. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my reviews for two recent Disney Plus movies, Chang Can Dunk and Prom Pact. Before we launch into the specifics about those movies, I want to welcome you to Dan Reviews It. Thank you for finding this video. We do TV and movie reviews here on this channel, and I try to drop something new for you just about every day. So consider subscribing down below there. Would love to have you aboard. Even click that notification bell, be alerted whenever I drop a new video, or just like this video or comment down below. Would love to hear your thoughts on either of these movies. So let's get started with Prom Pact. This one sort of threw me a little bit with where it actually got released. I thought it was a Disney Plus original film. It turns out, it was supposed to be, but it turns out it premiered the day before on Disney Channel, albeit in an edited version. We'll talk about sort of the more mature nature of this film momentarily, but this is essentially now a Disney Channel original movie, which honestly, I don't really review a lot of TV movies here on the channel, but with streaming and everything now, it's sort of hard to tell what even is a TV movie and what is a regular movie. Sometimes you can tell by the star power or whatever, but there's a lot of movies on Disney Plus that could easily be Disney Channel movies, in an alternate universe or something without streaming. So it's kind of hard to tell, but it turns out this, I guess, is officially a Disney Channel original movie, but whatever. Basically the premise here, and there's some real Disney at this point kind of mainstays in the cast. So Peyton Elizabeth Lee is the lead character here, Mandy, and she actually is currently on Doogie Kamealoha, which is on Disney Plus, but also she played the title character in Andy Mack, which was a Disney Channel show, like 4 or 5 years ago. So she's definitely a Disney mainstay. This is mostly about her and her best friend and fellow outsider, Ben, who is played by Milo Manheim. And he is actually in season 2 of Doogie with her, but also he was part of the Zombies film franchise, which were Disney Channel original movies. So you have, a couple of real Disney stalwarts at this point together, and they are entering into prom season here, sort of the outcasts that are like, oh, we hate the prom, it's so stupid, and the prom theme is the 1980s. Of course, all the kids are so hip into the 80s now, right? I feel like, other than maybe Stranger Things, most kids are more like 90s and forward. Both of these movies, actually, Chang Can Dunk and Prom Pact, have very bizarre references that teenagers just don't have in their lexicons. They're talking about Citizen Kane, Risky Business, Metallica, all of the hip references of the day for the kids, right? But anyway, Mandy is not losing her focus on her college prep. She's trying to get into Harvard, and as a result, she ends up being waitlisted, but she learns that the jock in town, who she can't stand, played by Blake Draper, his father is not only a big senator, but a Harvard alum, and so she realizes, oh, I can kind of tutor this dude, sidle up a little bit to him, and get to know the father, and in the meantime, she sort of ends up dropping her other friends, and that includes her buddy Ben. So that's the basic premise here. It's a very John Hughes type of film. At least that's what they would like you to believe. There are even references to Molly Ringwald. I think maybe they name check John Hughes as well. I know they talk about Weird Science in the movie. So in any event, this is a rather generic story in that regard, in terms of like finding out, the true meaning of friendship, and double crossing your friends to get to something else that you want, this other ring that you're looking for, whilst sort of embedded in the 1980s. There's tons of references littered throughout this movie, and yeah, I think kids today certainly probably know the biggies. They reference Ghostbusters in this movie. Okay, well, that just had, a sequel, so people know Ghostbusters, and you know, there's a few references like that. But when they start pulling out things like Weird Science, I'm like, all right, a risky business. Kids don't know what that is, right? So in any event, I guess that's more for the parents. But this is a pretty mature movie for Disney Plus, certainly for Disney Channel. When I watched it, some of the things that came up didn't necessarily occur to me right away. Like they say hell, and there's you know, a lot of drinking in the movie and stuff like that. Um, and I guess I didn't really piece it together because at the time I didn't know that it was a Disney Channel movie. But there was one thing that even for like a Disney Plus, like okay, this is for an older audience kind of thing. There's one scene where Milo Manheim's character Ben is at work, and there's this other kid he's talking to, and the other kid's, you know, kind of teasing him about not losing his virginity and stuff, and literally says, you know, that guy over there, oh, he definitely put his P in a V. And I'm like, right away, I'm like, this is sort of risque for a, you know, even Disney Plus, you know, movie. But then once I found out it was Disney Channel, I was like, they had to clean this up. And there actually is a video on YouTube someone put together with all of the differences between Disney Plus's version and Disney Channel's version. And sure enough, yeah, there's a handful of them, because there's a lot of stuff in this movie that is definitely for more mature viewers. Not necessarily the R rating of a John Hughes movie, but certainly this is, you know, probably like in the TV 14 kind of range. I think, you know, definitely at least middle schoolers. But it's kind of weird because Disney Channel, I think of like High School Musical type stuff, or, you know, Smart House, or things like that, where they sort of got their bread and butter. But look, Disney is trying to appeal to, you know, more audience than just little kids. You know, obviously that is why they bought Marvel, and well, of course, money too, but that's one of the reasons they bought Marvel. So there's a lot of things in this movie that are a little bit jarring to hear from a Disney movie for really what you expect is children. But for sure, if this were in theaters or something, this would be rated PG-13. There's no doubt in my mind about that. So other than sort of the biting off of different movies, we've seen a lot of the storylines here before, and even, you know, down to kind of stealing a little bit from Legally Blonde, you know, somebody who is desperate to get into Harvard, but also, you know, there's lessons in this movie of not judging a book by its cover, which is kind of the whole point of Legally Blonde. So there's definitely some references there, you know, maybe not outright, but certainly hidden in the messaging and the themes. The acting is fine. You know, I'm honestly not really familiar with these people. I didn't watch the zombie series. I did watch the first couple episodes of Doogie Kamealoha, so I could review it. But that was before Milo Manheim joined the cast, so I really am not familiar with him at all. But you know, the other gal I'm sort of familiar with a little bit from that. But they have good chemistry, and in fact, you know, the hot jock dude, who's what, Blake Draper is the actor. You know, he played sort of the dumb jock that you don't really understand, you know, until halfway through the movie pretty well. But I think pacing is a little bit of an issue here. There are, you know, long stretches where there's not a whole lot of plot development, and it's not funny enough. It's not really very funny at all, but it's not funny enough to sort of sustain those portions. Like, we needed a little bit more. And Netflix has sort of, to me, kind of perfected this type of teen dramedy kind of movie in the last couple of years. You had, you know, to All the Boys movies. You had, what was the one? Well, Honor Society, I think that was not Netflix, right? That was that Paramount Plus, maybe? Do Revenge, I think, was Netflix. So there have been a few different streaming ones, but Netflix, I think, with the P.S. I Love You movies, has really sort of, for me, cemented kind of the new era of the teen romance, you know, streaming dramas, I guess. So this, to me, was sort of a mismatch of a lot of different things, different ideas, some of which worked, but none of them particularly original, which is unfortunate. But I do think, you know, parents should maybe be cautioned if you're watching this and you have younger children. I don't think this is, especially the Disney Plus version, I don't think is going to be for really anybody under the age of, you know, probably 10 or 11. You know, saying P and a V, like, that's, I don't know, a little extreme for Disney, but in any event, I will leave Prom Pact with a C plus. All right, now let's talk about Chang Can Dunk. This is a Disney Channel original movie, through and through. Or a Disney. See, I'm even confusing myself. This is a Disney Plus original movie through and through. They actually premiered this about a month ago during March Madness, but just kind of now getting to review it. And this stars Bloom Lee as Chang, who I admit I am unfamiliar with. And I didn't really look too much into his whole background. I don't know if he's a Disney kid or not. But anyway, he plays the title character Chang here, who has some issues with popularity in high school. But he loves basketball. However, he's seen as sort of a joke to some of the more popular kids in school, some of the jocks. His peers basically treat him like he's invisible, but he's obsessed with learning how to slam dunk. And in fact, he makes a bet with one of the school's sort of basketball all-stars, kind of, positioned as a bully here in this movie, named Matt, who is played by Chase Leafield. Again, unfamiliar with him. And hopefully, he is able to get that dunk and, gain some popularity. I think that's all I'm going to say about the plot, because this movie has a few twists that I definitely did not see coming. I think at about the halfway mark or so is where the movie could have easily ended, if they had stretched out, the rest of it to feature length. But the movie actually subverts expectations, and certainly did so for me. It is written and I think directed, right? Yeah, by the same guy, Jinji Shao, who, again, unfamiliar with. The couple things I'm seeing here on IMDb, I'm not familiar with. But he wrote and directed this movie, and it's very interesting because for the first half of it, I was like, okay, this is kind of generic for a Disney sports movie, but I see where they're going with it. It's, a pretty clear-cut case of, this unpopular kid trying to do something to impress a girl, impress himself, impress the school, whatever. Bully comes in and starts trying to be a jerk. But then, really, at that halfway mark or so, it totally sort of shifts gears and becomes almost a lesson movie in terms of achieving success and what we do to get it, what happens when popularity does take hold, how we deal with our family in these moments and our friends, and a lot of things that I think were handled very well. I was very surprised with really the turn that this movie took. And this kid, again, I'm not real familiar with him, but he did a pretty good job here as Chang. I was impressed with. I don't want to say that the character is necessarily super complex, but I think he sort of handled the more emotional scenes pretty well for a relative newcomer. And I will say this is not unlike Prom Pact, which is definitely has comedic elements. It's got a lot of those John Hughes wannabe kind of qualities. This is more or less a straight ahead drama. There's a few comedic moments, but this is more or less, a sports drama, which Disney typically does pretty well with. I think there's been many over the years. Some, have maybe not gone so well, but I think for the most part, they're fairly revered in terms of, family-friendly sports entertainment. And this is, unlike Prom Pact, certainly family-friendly. I think you could watch this with, a 6-year-old, 8-year-old, 15-year-old, whatever, it doesn't matter, and get, something out of it. But I think it does have some interesting lessons that I certainly did not see coming. And I've got to give it credit for that. It definitely rose a little bit above my expectations. And look, the time is right for both of these movies. Like I mentioned up top, it is prom season, for the next month or so. And basketball is kind of wrapping up now with the finals. But like I said, this got released a few weeks ago during March Madness. So timing was right for both of these movies. I think Chang Can Dunk is certainly the better film. So I will leave it with a B plus. Another, good check, or check plus in the Disney family-friendly sports category. So, a couple things to check out there. If you are a Disney fan, check out my recent review as well of Peter Pan and Wendy, which just premiered on Disney Plus over the weekend. I just did a review for that, so check that out. And check out all the other great stuff on my channel. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time on Dan Reviews It. Bye.